check, 1, 2, 3, check, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, check, check, check.
Oh, okay. I was making eye contact.
Test, 1, 2. Testing.
He did do everything that.
This one, I'm gonna go switch it back on my other one, see if that works.
Matt, did you just switch the frequency on my box and not your box? Yes. Yes, if you don't mind, just because I don't know how to do that. Yeah, so that one's mine, and this one is yours.
This one's mine.
Okay, yeah, that one's mine.
Five 18.2.
I don't know, check.
Yeah. Mine's 25.25.
Okay.
Matt, why don't you just use a cord?
Do you have an extra one?
Yeah. No, if you want.
Yeah, they had me switching mine. None of ours are.
Just stick mine up there. Might just be something wrong with it. Just check it before you put it up there. Just listen to your audio and see if it's.
It's not even doing
Get ready to start.
Doing okay.
Everybody ready?
Good.
Everybody good?
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. Today, we want to update you on the status of Deputy Chief Ronald Green. As you all know, Deputy Chief Green was placed at administrative leave on August the 13th and has remained on administrative leave since that time while we conducted an internal investigation into serious and troubling allegations. This past Friday, December 10th, I received Deputy Chief Green's notice of retirement as that internal review was nearing its completion. We recognized that the information was limited once it became public knowledge that Deputy Chief Green was put on admin leave, and that was by design. Based on the nature and the severity of the allegations, we had to act cautiously and with discretion. I hope you will understand that once I give you a little bit of background on the investigation. On August 13th, 2021, we were made aware of an allegation of sexual misconduct against Deputy Chief Green. I immediately placed him on admin leave and requested an internal investigation into these allegations. After the initial allegation was received, Internal Affairs was made aware of numerous additional incidents of alleged inappropriate behavior between Green and other women dating as far back as 1998. Including the individual who made the initial complaint, 5 women agreed to take part in our investigation, including 4 current or former members of the Knoxville Police Department. Of those 5 separate allegations that were investigated, the Internal Affairs Unit anticipated that there was sufficient evidence to sustain findings of violations of the KPD Code of Conduct policy in 4 of those cases. It's important to note that at the time we received Deputy Chief Green's notice of retirement, the Internal Affairs Unit investigation was nearing its final stages, but had not been fully completed. Deputy Chief Green has not formally responded to the charges because the letter notifying us of his retirement was received before the investigation was fully completed and before any disciplinary hearing could be held. Deputy Chief Green was serving as the commander of the patrol division at the time of the initial allegation. Since he was placed on administrative leave, Captain Don Jones has served as the acting commander of the patrol division, and he will continue to serve in that capacity until Green's vacated deputy chief position can be filled. On a personal and professional level, I was completely horrified that allegations of this kind would be made against any member of the KPD, particularly a member of my command staff. Our expectation is that KPD employees treat their fellow employees and those we are sworn to protect in a way that makes them feel safe and respected and valued at all times, both while on duty and off duty. The behavior that was alleged to have occurred was the complete opposite of that expectation. I'm proud of the women who came forward with these allegations because that takes real courage. I'm also proud of the work done by the Internal Affairs investigators who have spent countless hours to thoroughly and persistently uncover the facts in this case. I wish I would have known about these allegations sooner so that we could have acted on them. Nonetheless, I hope this case proves that nobody is beyond reproach or above the law, regardless of their rank. Before I turn it over to Mayor Kincannon, I want to add that in our conversations with the women who took part in this investigation, they were adamant that they did not want to be contacted by the media and that they did not want their names to be published. We only ask that you please respect and honor these wishes if possible. And I'll add a little bit more, that I think that their names coming out in the media would be detrimental should we have any allegations like this in the future for people to come forward. And I would hope that we would have people more comfortable as a result of this to come forward. And now I will turn it over to Mayor India Kincannon, and then we'll take some questions.
Thank you, Chief Thomas. The allegations that surfaced as part of this IAU investigation are deeply disturbing and alarming. Reading the report, I was outraged. I know too many women who have experienced sexual misconduct in the workplace. The women who spoke out in this report showed tremendous courage, participated in the IAU investigation. I also want to commend Chief Thomas and the investigators, not just for conducting the investigation, but for doing it swiftly, immediately. We must have a community where everyone feels safe. We must have a workplace where everyone feels safe. We must have a city where everyone feels safe. We must have a safe environment where everyone feels comfortable to voice their concerns without fear of retaliation. My administration is constantly working to make sure that we have a supportive and equitable environment. That means taking allegations of workplace misconduct seriously and investigating allegations promptly and thoroughly. It also means being transparent and ensuring accountability. Let me state this again. We do not and will not ever tolerate the kind of alleged behavior that is outlined in this report. I'm now going to turn it over to Scott.
Just a quick note that we'll take some questions here, but since the investigation is not fully completed, we're not going to take any questions about the specific facts of any of the individual cases, but we'll take general questions and just direct those questions to the Mayor Kincannon or Chief Thomas.
Chief, the first allegation is from 1998. During that period of time, Deputy Chief Green rose through the ranks of the Knoxville Police Department, continuing to get promotions over that period of time. What message does that send to the women in the organization to watch someone who has allegations dating back 20-some years rise to that position of power within the organization?
It's deeply disturbing, and it's disappointing to me, but I commend that woman coming forth now, feeling comfortable now to come forth with that allegation after holding it in for so long and thinking nothing would happen and nothing would be investigated. That's all I can answer to that question.
Were there any indications in the past 20-odd years, any other complaints about Chief Green, any other messages to IA in the past that maybe didn't go forward in the investigation?
I'm aware of one other that will be in the report, but I was not in a position to be in that chain of command or involved in that investigation, and it was investigated and I thought appropriately handled at the time.
Were any of the women making allegations against Chief Green minors at the time of the incident?
So that's a specific part of the investigation, and I can't answer those questions at this point.
I guess I'm confused why that can't be answered, considering that Chief Green is no longer with the organization. In the past, we've seen that once the officer involved leaves the organization, the IA investigation.
So those are the ground rules for today. That investigation, once we get it back in the Internal Affairs Unit and it's redacted, will become public record, and you'll have access to that.
So at this time, you're not going to answer any questions?
No,
about that?
I will not.
Chief, can you talk about how he's able to retire and not be fired, and can you talk about what his payout's going to be? Is that it
Oof.
changed if he is found? I know the investigation.
Okay. So, and what little I know, anyone can go retire at any time. I cannot control that. No one here at the city can control if someone decides to retire. He has his age and his time of service in to retire. As far as his payout, I don't know that. I'm not aware of what that would be. I know that you top out at 30 years. He does not have his 30 years in at this point.
Since we're talking about decades of allegations, can you talk about statute of limitations on this, or are there any, can the victim still press charges? I know the investigation is still.
Sure, that could happen, and we may have some folks come forth, and if those are criminal allegations, they'll be fully investigated.
And And just on the record, no charges have been filed.
As far as criminal,
Correct.
correct. We were very careful to vet that, because we would stop an administrative investigation immediately if we had criminal charges.
Chief, you
Yes.
talked that the deputy chief in 2019 found for kind of helping cover up the sexual misconduct within the ranks. It was Deputy Chief Kenny Miller. Now you have another deputy chief who's left under all these allegations of sexual misconduct. You've said over and over that there's not a cultural problem. Can you explain why that's still the case, if you still believe that, and address those concerns?
Sure. So my answer to that is, we've improved. We're handling these as immediately as we're made aware of them. And these women are my heroes for coming forth with these allegations. And we immediately removed him from duty, put him on administrative leave, and investigated.
Can you talk more about his role, what a typical shift would look like
For
for Green?
Deputy Chief Green? Wow. And that's hard to explain. Generally a day shift, Monday through Friday, but when we have events or we have crimes happen, we will respond at all times of the day. So it's a 24-hour job.
So in constant communication or?
Yes, ma'am.
The patrol leader, as he was for several years, that was a position that's over the Explorer program, correct?
That's correct.
Chief, do you think that Deputy Chief Green should be a police officer anymore?
I can't comment on that because the process wasn't completed. And I was not able to hear his answer to these allegations and to have him respond to this. But they're horrific allegations.
Chief, is there any way you can,
I'm sorry.
is there any way that you can, move to have his post certification revoked because of this, or is that?
Yeah,
If
so I-
do you plan to do that?
We'll look into that. I'll be looking into that. I know that I can definitely, as I turn in his status to post, he will be retired while under investigation.
Can you talk about at what point did the victims, without giving too much details, at what point did they feel confident enough to come forward with these allegations?
So we had an initial complaint, we had an initial woman come forward who turned in a written allegation, and in that she felt like she finally felt confident enough to come forward, and in that written complaint, and she came in person and said that her doing this would probably have other women would come forward.
How did they know to come forward after that?
Our internal affairs unit started reaching out to people. And so they continued and kept pulling those threads and reaching out to many, many women.
Chief, you've been with this department for, through these 20 years that these allegations have happened. You've served alongside Deputy Chief Green. Did you have any concept that there was any inappropriate behavior?
No, I'm horrified. I don't have words for how deeply disappointed and how horrific this is to me, especially as a female officer in this department.
And to make sure we're clear, there's no criminal allegations that were uncovered through this. Nothing rose to a criminal level.
That's correct.
And
No
District
criminal.
Attorney's Office, nobody's been involved as of yet.
They have not. They have not. And as I said, internal affairs, when we do an investigation, we are very, very careful, because if criminal allegations or any kind of criminal investigation is to occur, we stop immediately.
Chief, were these women who came forward members of the public or members of the force?
We had one member of the public and 4 members. 2 have retired and 2 are still current members of KPD.
What conversations have you been having with the force that are members here in the department after this?
So I've had conversations with the 2 who are still current. Those have been very difficult conversations. And our internal affairs commander, who headed up this investigation, had conversations with all 5 within the last couple of days, because we wanted to prepare them that we were getting ready to announce this.
What's left to be done with that internal investigation file?
So it stopped because he has retired. That has stopped. That file will be made public record as is,
Chief,
So why can't we get it now?
because it needs to be redacted. we've got to get it back from the law department, and we've got to redact it, so.
How long do you think that?
I don't have a timeline, but we'll do it quickly.
Chief, we've seen over and over again in these incidents of internal affairs investigations, officers resigning at the last minute, before the investigation completes, just before their disciplinary hearing. Do you think it's an effective way to get to the truth of what's happening within the department when there seems to be kind of an MO of lasting as long as you can and then quitting right before they get you?
So, you know, we have civil service protections, and we have a procedure that we follow. And maybe that is detrimental as far as any type of completing discipline goes. But those investigations have to be done. We have to do them very carefully and very diligently, and that takes time. And then our target of those investigations is interviewed as well. And so they have a hint, they get to see the complaint. So as they're made aware of that, they have that opportunity to resign.
Is that what happened in this case that, sorry, is that what happened in this case that Chief Green saw the complaint and then made the decision to resign?
Yes. He saw the initial complaint against him, and he was interviewed as part of this investigation.
And he was on administrative leave for a period of time with the taxpayer expense of $30,000 some dollars. Is there any way that that money can get brought back into the government, or is that money that he has that he's earned?
Right. So, no, these are, and we tried to complete this as quickly as possible, but these are very serious allegations, and we had to make sure that we investigated them very thoroughly. So, and unfortunately, that takes time, and that's all I can answer.
Have you been on that
We got
figure,
time.
that
One more
30,000?
question.
Can you quickly just confirm that 30,000, was that a roundabout?
I've seen that figure in the media, so I have not confirmed it myself.
That's what
No.
I'm asking.
Yeah.
In your conversations with these women, are they happy with this resolution? Do they feel like their concerns were kind of brought to justice in the end of it?
Nobody's happy with this. No one is happy. No, they're not happy.
I'm
you
sorry.
know,
I didn't get a confirmation of that 30. What was that, the answer on that?
Are the women happy with
Is there a
this?
number?
I'm sorry?
Is there a number on that 30?
We'll ask our communications people to get
Yeah.
back who's that.
Okay.
Yeah, I
We
don't have
can't
that.
confirm right now.
That was just confusing to me. I was
Yeah.
just didn't want to-
Mayor, if we can, just a quick question for you, because I know we're running out of time.
Okay, one question? Sure.
This has been we've been in this interaction before, talking about sexual harassment and sexual misconduct within the ranks of the Knoxville Police Department. We've had, as Tyler said, allegations now to the kind of second highest level within the department. Do you believe that there's a problem within KPD specifically as it relates to this?
To the contrary, I think the fact that these women officers are feeling comfortable enough to report this now reflects well on the department under Chief Thomas's leadership, that they do not fear retaliation. They are reported under sworn oath testimony about their concerns, and these allegations have been thoroughly investigated, and this is the outcome we're reporting today. So I think I commend Chief Thomas for taking the allegations seriously and having them conduct a thorough investigation immediately.
Do you think that in previous administrations that wasn't felt, and that's why it's taken this long?
I can't speak to that.
Yeah, that's all the time we got for today. If you got any other questions, just send them to either myself or Kristen.